Hey, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 9, Rubicon. We are going to give our reviews and then we're going to get into spoiler talk about the episode starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
And I'm
Uh,
Cassandra.
so, the spoiler free. Sorry, so for spoiler free logline of this is Captain Burnham and the U.S.S. Discovery race to stop Book and Ruon Tarka from launching a rogue plan that could inadvertently endanger the galaxy. So, Condra, what did you think of this episode?
That was a good episode. I mean, we're continuing to see that struggle between Burnham and Book, but also like the two different arguments for how to interact with species 10C, right? Make first
Mm-hmm.
contact diplomatically or destroy the DMA and shut it down. And so you start seeing like the continuation of that arc and all of people's motivations at play. And you get another sort of or a more in-depth, I guess a brief in-depth interaction with more of the bridge crew in this. And overall, I enjoyed the episode. We're one step closer, or a little bit closer, I guess, to figuring out 10C, species 10C, who they are, and sort of the expansion of that story. So it's sort of, I mean, I'm enjoying how they're building the story. And I guess there's a little bit of a surprise at the end, although I feel like it
Mm.
shouldn't have really been a surprise. And I also really enjoyed or liked uh, how they brought back Commander Nan. I was a little skeptical at first when she, I guess the manner in which she was brought back, but I feel like it was true to the character and sort of seeing her come back and her interaction with Burnham and the crew and her role in this, I thought was a good little story in there because they really, I think they try to really make you feel how complicated and how complex this decision is, right? So that was sort of my, I guess, my spoiler-free
Yeah,
thought.
I like the episode
Yeah.
as well. I don't know if I liked it as much as I did last week's episode, just because there were
Mm,
a couple issues with the rationale behind some of the decisions that were made. Um, that I mean, some of the decisions that some of the things that Non said, some of the things that Tarka did didn't necessarily make
mm,
sense to me. The
mm,
conclusion was a little anticlimactic for me.
mhm,
The conclusion of the conclusion of the tensions between the parties was a little anticlimactic for me. Uh, but it wasn't a bad episode. It was, and I think it's a bit above
mm.
okay for me. But I do think that there were a couple issues that, I mean, like I said, it's difficult to talk about without spoiling the specifics.
Yeah.
But like I said,
Mhm,
around the way that Tarka makes decisions, and also the way that that Non was talking about her experiences seemed a little bit off. But besides that, it was a good episode. They gave some of the bridge crew something to do, which I always enjoy, which I always appreciate. Even though what they gave them to do wasn't a lot, but they gave them a few more lines than usual, because the main cast is basically Sonequa, Doug Jones, Anthony Rapp, and Wilson Cruz. So when they give any of the other bridge crew officers something to say or do, or a thought about what's happening on the ship, I appreciate that. So So enjoy that, even though it was a lot less than Oyen got last week. There isn't like a highlight like that in this episode, which is probably why I didn't like it as much as the last episode. Because, like I said, I really liked the last episode because of the focus on the like four characters basically, and also the elevation of Oyen to or Wosekun, the character, to give her more to do. So, like I said, it was a good episode. It was good. I don't think it was great because, like I said, of the issues that I had. So yeah. All right. So, without further ado, we should I guess get into spoiler talk. But if you're enjoying the conversation, we
Yeah.
invite you to comment below and like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And with that, spoiler talk ahead. All right. So I guess I should talk about the thing that was bothering me. Like, I really
Mhm.
like that Non came back. I I wanted her to stay, and it doesn't look like she's going to stay right now, uh, because I like that actress. But I feel like honestly they have issues juggling the people that are on the bridge right now. Giving her her own storyline might be impossible. I don't know. They did let her stand out a little bit, but like her heart to heart with Burnham at the end, because I didn't think we would actually hear about what happened to her when she went back to Barzan, but she did talk about it a little bit, but it made no sense whatsoever to me because she's like she
Mhm.
found her family, but she couldn't tell them they were from the past. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like everyone in the Federation knows that the discovery came from the past. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. I, yeah, but I guess I wonder too, like because when she left, they weren't a part of the
But they are
Federation,
now because
and so I
that was
wonder
right.
they are now. Yeah, I guess I just wonder like how much of her like personal history would have been
Mm-hmm.
made known and public. Because I also got the impression that her joining Starfleet wasn't really something her people or her family were excited about to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. You know, like the expectation is you stay with your family, you sort of grow with your family. So I wonder like how much of her personal history is sort of obscured in the broader context of her people's history. And then she's a really private person as well, which is what I like. Cause she
Mm-hmm.
even with Burnham, right? Knowing like somebody who understands that struggle, right? That sort of this leap through time. She just could not really say everything. I mean, I agree with you. Like I was expecting more when she did start to talk about her story, and but it sounds like she's just a very cryptic character because she didn't tell the crew, that she was back with Starfleet, right? She was off doing
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, she's a
special
security officer,
ops,
so she wouldn't
right?
necessarily
So
don't
yeah,
divulge that to people.
right.
And all that was fine. The fact that they brought her back, the fact that they didn't have the admiral go on the trip. I think it was a good way to
Hmm.
bring her back. I had hoped that it
Hmm.
would have been like just similar to like Saru's. Like, I'm going to stay with the crew until this emergency is over. But for some
Yeah,
reason, she's going back to
yeah,
to do more co-op special ops stuff. I don't know.
I thought we
Yeah.
would have seen more action from her. And instead she was sort of I mean she was that voice. She was like, I mean, I think I appreciated that. It was like, we're gonna send somebody who
Yeah.
will make that call when the call needs to be made. And I think there was some sort of comfort maybe with the crew, the bridge crew, knowing that
Hmm.
they trusted her judgment, and if she is saying it's time to do this,
Yeah. I
then
mean,
it's
and if you
time
go back
to do
to
this.
like, I
She's
mean, they I mean, Burnham is like said something like we go way back. We don't. I don't know if they go. I mean, if you're counting all the years that they skipped, sure. I guess they they went go back. They only go back 2 seasons,
They go
but
way, way back.
in the past, she has served that purpose, that function for Burnham. Like Burnham couldn't kill Ariam, and then
Yeah.
she made the call because she needed to make the call, right? So it made sense that she was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, and I appreciated how like when Burnham got onto the bridge and they started the mission, like Non like kind of deferred to her to whether or not she was going to say what was going on. She's like, no, I think they should know why you're here. So yeah, so that was all good. It was just like I said. I think I liked everything well, I think I like most of what she did in the episode, except for, like I said, the explanation of why she left why she left Barzan. Like, from my knowledge about Barzan is basically what from that wormhole episode in TNG, and also what she said about Barzan, which is that it's poor. We haven't visited Barzan in any of the episodes of any Star Trek, so it's difficult to tell what the culture is there, or so I don't know if there is some. Sorry, go
And
ahead.
we only know, I mean,
I was gonna
from
say
the. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, because.
I was gonna say that there might be some cultural reason why she can't say that she's from the past, but if that's the case, they should probably say that because, like I said, lots of people know that the ship has come from the past in the Federation, so I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's top secret. So I don't know. Yeah. So you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it did. Well, I think we got a little bit of how much their society has changed in the episode, because the Barzan family was on
Mm-hmm.
rotation taking care of that seed vault. So I imagine they're certainly
Mm-hmm.
not as poor as they used to be, right? And I don't know what that means in the greater context of the Federation. And then, you get that little snippet from the Admiral, I think, who says, or somebody, I forget who says, but, Barzan's sort of geared
Yeah, because
towards the security
they prize
forces in the
duty
Federation.
above. Yeah, I will say
In,
that. I mean,
yeah.
uh,
So,
I'm not sure. Do you remember in the episode last season, after the the Barzan people, the Barzan guy that she met? Did he have breathers on his face? Or yeah, in the
on this
seatbelt.
in the seat vault. Yeah, well, the atmosphere was
I see.
adjusted
I see. I
for
see. I see.
them, so they didn't need to have theirs, and he didn't. And I don't think they had the implants, so I'm assuming like they travel on their Barzan ship,
I see.
and
I see.
to
I
get
see.
to the vault and everything
Okay,
is
so they did
is
explain
fine.
that because
Yeah,
I thought that they're all right. Okay, okay. I thought maybe that over the okay.
yeah, that
I
whole
thought
like
over like the
realize real
thousand
quick.
years they found some biological solution, and they couldn't find a biological solution for her because she hadn't evolved with the rest of her people or something like that. But okay, that makes sense. They just adjusted the atmosphere inside of the ship. Um, but yeah, they also made her breathers smaller and so that was cool. But yeah, I think, like I said, I liked most of what she said. Or her whole presence. I actually wanted to
Hmm.
see her stay around a little bit longer. Um, I think that for all her talk about duty, talk about like having to make the call. She probably should have made the call earlier. Um, uh, uh, um, like
Yeah,
when they started shooting them with photon torpedoes. I mean, it wasn't booked, but still, like there, I feel like there could have been some tension there on the bridge, and she should have said, just do it, and then maybe Book could have said that wasn't me or something like that, and that would have stopped her. Um, And there would have been, but like she did hesitate there, which was weird, seeing as how she was the person that was sent there not to hesitate. It seems to me. But just before that, she had an excellent line where Burnham is like, "Oh, I think he's just warning us off," and she said, "Regardless of semantics, I think we can all agree that they're shooting at us, right?" So that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it comes after that moment where Saru, like they're in the ready room, Burnham's ready room, and they start to go at each other, and Saru's like, "Wait, let's calm down and let's find middle ground," right? And I think that was her being like, like, we can agree on this point, like we can maybe disagree on how to respond to it, but yeah, he's shooting at us. Like that is not up for debate. I felt like Burnham could have used her a little bit more, because they got into this rhythm where she knew, like, Book did something and she anticipated
based upon their experience,
and got around it. And I felt like Commander Non was an unknown for
she's a
Book,
tactician,
right? He wouldn't have interacted with her. Right, and I think Burnham could have sort of used her to throw Book off a little bit. It kind of, that whole, like, that part where he shot at them. They were like trying to block their screen or destroy their shield or screens or whatever. Just felt a little cheesy, to me. And I was like, you have this brilliant tactician, right, who will help you avoid the worst case scenario, right? Maybe, but use her, and Book's on Book's side, Tarka was that unknown, right? Because he made all these upgrades, like that brief moment where you get,
Reese,
Reese, Bryce, Reese, and Bryce and Saru, right? Trying to get the drop on Book and Tarka while they're building this isolative weapon in this planet, and Tarka has installed
security
new intrusion alert system, right? That winds up destroying their shuttle, completely unbeknownst to Book. And I would have thought that like at that point, Book, because he's always been so possessive of his ship,
checked other systems to see if he made other. Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing at the end that made no sense to me. First, Tarka makes this speech, and I'm like, obviously the speech means that he's gonna do it anyway. I'm not sure why Book let him get it all out. I'd be like, I'm gonna stop you right there. Don't do anything more on my ship. I told you not to do anything more on my ship. He should have checked after he found out that he put the extra security system in there. So like, I feel like also they. Go ahead.
It shouldn't have been something that only one of them could control. Like have a fail-safe. Need two people, two passwords.
He probably would have. He probably would have cheated the system though. Like Tarka would have like technically. You needed two password codes to get the spore drive out of Starfleet security, and I assume Starfleet security has heavier barriers to getting things out than Book's ship. So he probably would have put some backdoor in anyway. But like he should have looked for other things, right? It's his ship. He could have found some anomalies and did something. I don't know. It was also like a little bit of a letdown. I felt like they were going to blow it up just because they wanted to add the tension to the episode, and also because it would have ended in a somewhat anticlimactic way if the explosion didn't go off. But technically, it did end in an anticlimactic way because you didn't really see the explosion go off. So like they show these wide shots of the DMA all the time, and I was expecting them to do an animation of it collapsing, and you never saw that. You just saw the explosion in the inside. You didn't see the DMA collapsing. And then you saw it at the end of the episode. They just reestablish it from their end. So yeah, I was expecting
Yeah.
them to put in the work and of actually showing the anomaly collapsing in on itself. Uh, Also, Tarka is supposed to be this brilliant person. They powered this thing, their mini DMA from the outside in inside of their inside of whatchamacallit, inside of the engineering. Yeah. So
Oh, when they
he
did
was
that.
able to do
Yeah.
that in a mini version. Does he not, did it never occur to him that the energy was coming from the other end? Like, because they were able to.
I wanted to throw a shoe at him when he said that line. I'm like, of course that was a viable possibility that it wasn't being like powered on this side. It just, yeah, it just made no sense. But then I think, like you said, like he's such an intelligent person. I think like he thought he'd figured it out. And I think sometimes, especially as a scientist, like
Hmm.
you set yourself on a path, and if you don't have anybody to sort of check you or question
I guess
you,
he was,
you
yeah,
just
he doesn't think of anyone else as his peer, so no one would have actually checked him, and there weren't any other. I mean, it's not like he bounced this off of Stamets, because Stamets probably would have said, based on our simulation alone, it could the
right.
power could be coming from outside of the thing, because they did not power they didn't build a small thing and then power it from the inside. The actual device itself that they created was the device actually creating the anomaly, the one that he the miniature one that he created for the test. That was just creating the anomaly. What was powering
Hmm.
it was outside the outside of the anomaly, because I remember Reno was giving it power from the ship. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It made no sense whatsoever. It's like, oh, the power source is not here. Oh, it must be from the other. Really, you're putting at risk. You're putting at risk this galaxy, and Book actually says it to him for the first time. He's like, you just want to go to another universe. I'm trying to deal with this universe here. So I don't know.
Right.
Like that was the other thing that I said that made the episode a little like, what? That doesn't really make sense. But like, it
Yeah.
didn't ruin the episode for me, but it was just like that. It, people were acting uncharacteristically, like, outside of the character that they've established for them. Um, but yeah,
But but I think though, is it? I mean, I feel like it's common. It's a common. I don't know if trope is the right word to have. Like you have this brilliant scientist
mm,
who misses something, right? I don't know that it's uncharacteristic so much as
mm,
frustrating. Like I feel like maybe there's a better way to have that sort of explained. I don't know, because I was like, oh, like I can see sort of how this happens, but then I was like, it 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 to me it was like it was laughable, right? Like, oh, he didn't think that it could be powered on the other side. And for a millisecond, I felt for him because he was like so depressed and dejected. But I'm like, but now you've also, because you haven't considered this possibility, you also haven't, you don't have any sort of backup plan,
yeah,
right? And
and
we
you
don't know what happened. I mean, I was actually relieved when the DMA just reappeared because I was like, well, maybe on their end, nothing major happened. They were just like, oh, you know, a controller broke or something like that, you just replace it, right? Because if there had been a catastrophic effect on the other side, I feel like it wouldn't have just reappeared as calmly,
maybe
the way it did.
maybe
Which I mean, may or may
maybe
not be the
we don't
case,
know until we actually talk to
but
Tennessee, right? Like, it's possible that it is
right,
just like, I know, changing a circuit breaker, but but it might be obvious to them
Mhm.
a circuit breaker that goes out naturally and a circuit breaker that was tampered with. And it was, regardless of whether or not it was a minor inconvenience to them, they know that someone did it, and it's an act of aggression to them. So I don't know. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense that it was powered from the other end, and it was also makes sense that if they're powerful enough to create this, recreating it would have been trivial for them in the first. Also, so
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know who this. They now they built these people up so much. It's possible that there could be a letdown on what they conceive these beings to be, because they have, like, from last season, sorry, last episode, we get a little bit more information about them. The fact that it's like mining equipment, but we still, I guess, the next episode we actually have to travel to the space that that they have, like, this distortion field around, this giant swath of space that's even bigger than the DMA, that you can that no equipment can actually penetrate, to try, I don't know, try to knock it at the border to try to get someone to come and answer or something like that. So I don't know what their
Exactly.
plan is. I'm interested to see how that works out for them. I haven't watched the preview for next week. Did you see it? Did you
I did, and they show
Relic?
President Rillick uh, um, telling Admiral Vance that she has empowered the vice president to take on her duties because
Mm,
she is going to go on the mission to make first contact or to meet species 10C, and that's sort of all
that
they
makes
show you.
sense. I mean,
Um,
they they I mean, she's representative of
yeah.
several worlds, and it's like, I guess she can speak
Hmm.
for several worlds in the galaxy, to hopefully get them not to destroy everyone. All right.
Yeah, they have a little back and forth about whether or not she should be the one to go, and he's like, "You are the Federation," and she's like, "Well, that's the
Yeah.
reason why I need to go." And she looks very, I mean, I feel, to this point, you always see her being
Mm-hmm.
very confident
Mm-hmm.
and sure of herself. And, in the little bit that they show you, you do see she recognizes the
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty and what this mission could mean. And I guess you sort of see the weight of that, like her sort of expressing. They have a moment where, like, like, look,
Right.
like, you need to be, we need you here to hold the Federation together, but,
Yeah.
and she's like, but I
Yeah.
am also needed
The
out there
Federation.
to be the
Yeah.
face of our galaxy um, before
Yeah.
we get
Well,
destroyed.
it's good
So
to see that she's
yeah.
not, like, hubristic about her positions. Like, she knows she's basically going to speak to, I mean, guess for all intents and purposes, like, gods. So that can smite everyone. So
Hmm.
I would feel uncertain as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, she's not all gun ho about this, and I also like appreciate. I think Star Trek has always
Mm-hmm.
been diplomacy first, which is not what we always see in the real world, right? There's always, and I think in this episode, almost to a fault, Burnham is like, there has to be another way. She knows Book. She knows he wouldn't. He doesn't want to hurt them, and you see that when the shuttle is destroyed, and he tries
Mm-hmm.
to get free before it's destroyed, and luckily, Obo is able to beam them uh, away. Sort of, I guess all of these things happen at the same time. Although why they're not in their like fancy
I guess they weren't
suits.
necessarily expecting to
Um,
be ejected into space, because they, unlike the mission at, I think the first episode on the space station, where that could have broken up at any time. They're inside of a shuttle. They weren't expecting to be ejected into space. So yeah, I guess, yeah, yeah. They
I don't know. Anytime you put me on a shuttle, I'm putting my little like space, my little environmental suit on. But yeah, but he was very concerned about them, and I think Burnham knew that because he doesn't. He's trying to save the galaxy, right? He doesn't, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody in the process, which I think maybe sets him apart from other characters who would, you know,
Right.
like the ends justify. And if I have to get rid of you to save billions or trillions of
Which is
lives,
Non's, which is Non's
then
point of view, right?
that's what it,
She's like,
right.
hopefully we can get free of the blast, but if we can't, we're saving billions. Yeah,
Then so be it.
yeah, yeah.
Right. She's just like, so be it.
So,
When you
yeah,
sign up for Starfleet, you
right.
know that this is a distinct possibility. So yeah. Um, so that was so yeah, so they and I mean it was frustrating, right? Because they come to that, they realize how long it will take to for species 10C to mine that
Mm-hmm.
area where the DMA is. They have a piece or
Right.
like an agreement, right? That Book agrees to and Tarka. And yeah, to your point, like I don't know why he didn't realize where
Speech.
Tarka
Yeah.
was headed with that
It's
little
like,
like speech of his, because it was obvious that he doesn't not care about he wants
this
to get home.
galaxy
He
at all.
doesn't
No,
care
no,
about
none of the people
um
in it. Yeah,
this galaxy at all. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
There, yeah. There's small elements like that that make this episode weaker than it could have been. That could have been written a little bit better. But but the other elements
Mhm.
that are good. So, sorry,
I
go
did
ahead.
like the moment of yeah, I like the moment on in the shuttle between Reese and
Yeah,
Bryce.
Reese and Bryce. Yeah,
Did I get that right this time? um Reese and Bryce, yes. Their names sound so are so or look so similar. Where you sort of see even like among the crew
points of
where
view.
people have different opinions of the
Yeah.
approach, right? Yeah, points of view. Like some of them are like, well,
Mm-hmm.
Book is actually trying to do something about it, while we're trying to,
Mm-hmm.
make peace or whatever. And I thought that was nice because I think sometimes it's easy to think that the crew is all of one mind. Um, and yes, there's our chain of command, right? But just sort of
They're
remembering
individuals.
that,
Yeah, yeah,
well, they're
yeah.
still, individuals and they have their own opinions about how things should be done, right? And there's that internal conflict. Because ultimately, Bryce is the one who would control the failsafe that Commander Non, um, the
Right.
option to destroy Book's ship, and he's sort of in favor of Book's strategy, right? So he is
And he
in
would be
support of what Book is trying to
it
do,
ostensibly
or
he
at
would
least
have had
thinking
to
it's a good
destroy
idea.
them. Yeah, yeah. I appreciated that
Exactly.
scene. I think
So
that the guy who plays Reese delivered the lines a little not as well as he could have, and also it wasn't written as well. I appreciated the idea of having showing the conflict,
mhm.
and the fact that everyone wasn't necessarily on the same page. People complain online about the fact that people just followed orders in all the other iterations of Star Trek, but that's not the case at all. Internal internal disagreements
At
about
all. At
the point of
all.
view, the course of action all the time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I appreciate the idea they had there. I feel like the director should have had them run through that scene another time or two to get a little bit more out of the actors. Um, we also find out that
Mm.
Nielsen is also sort of on Book's side as well, like because she has a line later on in the episode where she's showing some kind of sympathy towards him and concerned about destroying him, and kind of understanding where he's coming from. So I appreciated all those small touches. I just think that the director probably should have had the actors like have all the actors come up to Saru, because when Saru breaks up the fight, he elevates the scene. the way the Doug Jones, the way that he delivers his lines, and I think the interplay between those actors wasn't as great as it could have been to communicate what they wanted to in that scene, to me anyway. And it's not like I have that actor can't act. I think when he did a better job earlier in the season when when the asteroid was going to get destroyed, and he went to talk about
Mm-hmm.
he went and he wanted to help with the evacuation, and they kind of touch on that in that conversation. It's like it's not you've never lost everything
Yes,
before,
yeah.
and apparently so they touch on that a little bit. I feel like they could have punctuated that a little bit more in that scene. But yeah, that was just
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm sure hopefully he'll get more opportunities to show what he can do in future episodes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other things that stood out for you?
Oh, I was gonna say what you said people complained about how everybody follows
Or
orders.
doesn't fall,
I
or
think
complete.
it,
So I think there's a
I
little
think
bit of a conversation
I
about
think
Owo not following orders with Saru on the bridge, and they followed up with that immediately last episode, and then again this is yeah
right. They do. But I was gonna say, like those all those scenes we have like through all the iterations of Star Trek, those scenes in the captain's ready room, right, where he brings his people in and they discuss something and they have differing points of view, right? The point is to can we discuss it, have different points of view or different strategies presented and decide what's the best course of action. And nobody ever
yeah
agrees, right?
maybe
It's
maybe their issue
and I think people aren't used to seeing discourse like people disagree and then still go away and do what's expected of them. Having like I don't want to say polite,
yeah
but you can disagree with somebody, right? Have a logical, rational discussion about something, and that this is your
yeah
job, this is what you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
and walk
maybe
away.
their.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
So
Maybe their
I don't
issue
know.
is that those conversations were in the ready room, where the captain is listening to all everyone's ideas, and then after he makes his decision, they're supposed to be at their post and they're supposed to just follow orders. I don't know. I think there were a few the disagreements usually happen in the ready room, but there were disagreements on the bridge as well on in Star Trek: The Next Generation. There were disagreements on the bridge of Kirk's bridge as well. So because he didn't have a ready room, so that's where the disagreements would happen, right?
Happen.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's just people that just like to nitpick at the show.
Yeah. People just make, I mean, the same. Mhm. And how everybody's so emotional. And I'm like, have you watched
Yeah,
the original
Kirk is
series?
super
Because,
emotional. Kirk is super emotional.
there's emotion. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
like anger, angry, he's lustful, like all of this. I'm just like, people are being ridiculous. And they're, if anything, I feel like the emotion we see here is more
Yeah. It was definitely
relatable,
more hammy.
I think, and
Which
more,
I think that his name is I'm blanking on his name now. The guy who plays Kirk, William Shatner. For years
oh, Shatner.
he was
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of people were making jokes about him because of his hammy performances. Yeah, the emotion here is grounded in real stuff is happening. A real human being would react emotionally to
Mhm.
this stuff. Really, no matter how trained they are, because it's not like the things that they have the crew going through are like normal run of the mill Starfleet things that are happening to them. They always have them in one super disaster, not like disaster, like super disaster after another. So yeah,
Right.
exactly. So
Galactic catastrophe.
yeah, I don't know the like the I I'm fully willing to pick apart the show and actually point out flaws, because I just now did. I talked about that scene that, like I said, and we talked about other things that I didn't like about this episode, but I feel like there are so many bad faith arguments about this show. It gets exhausting to try to talk to someone about the show who is never coming from a place where they actually are trying to enjoy the show or give the creators of the show, and when I say creators of the show, not just the writers, but like the actors are creating the show as well, like the benefit of the doubt, and like, yeah, just because it's not, an extension of TNG, and they're trying to do something a little bit different. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
Oh, can we talk about Saru?
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. So like, so we actually, there's a couple of things in this episode. There's that, and also there's a little bit of Culber kind of reestablishing his footing from last week when he was a little shaky. So we can talk about that briefly, and then we can talk about Trina thing. So I think he had a really good thing in the runabout. I misremembered the runabout thing, because it was Culber that spoke up first, and then I think it was Saru, and both of those actors I think did a better job than the junior actors in that scene. And then he was also in the ready room, I think, when they were doing the I think before the mission and also after the mission as well. He had a couple scenes there as well. So he did it. I guess he's reestablishing his confidence in his job, which is nice. And this is why Saru goes to him at the end of the episode, to ask him what to do, because I think in the middle of the episode, at the beginning of the episode, he has this interaction with Tarina. Yeah, this call with Tarina.
The call. Yeah.
This hollow call.
Call, and they try to meditate, and she's like, "Hey, let's go for a walk or have dinner." And Saru's like, he's all flustered. It's so sweet. They're so formal, and they're like, and cautious, I think, in their feelings for each other. But it's also, he's a Starfleet captain, but she's like the president of a planet, so that I also think like that power. I mean, he's definitely seen as an elder in his society, but she has a much higher status than he does. And part of Saru's concern is that they're different species from very different cultures. It also reminded me, like, when Saru left his planet, when he left Kaminar, none of his people were in Star. Like, they were a pre-war
part of his
society
planet, yes.
as well. And
the part that was being oppressed.
Part of his planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess he was maybe considered a young adult. He still lived at home. He didn't have a family, and so I think he's just very inexperienced in these matters. But but Culber's face as Saru was sort of saying, like, how do I tell her I don't think it's appropriate. I can't come to dinner. And Culber's like,
he said, do you like her? He said, yes. He said, then you're being an idiot. So that was funny. And the right advice, of course. So yeah, I also don't understand how he didn't expect this. I thought they were both kind of pursuing each other in a very, very, very slow manner, based upon the way that they based on their personalities. I thought so. Like the conversations that they had. I feel like it's weird that he was like broadsided by her invitation. I thought they were both pursuing each other.
I think he saw her as a very good friend, and I think she's like like,
Yeah.
no, it's a little bit
Yeah.
more than that, Saru.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, because I mean, she's probably, I don't know, are they even the same age? This whole
It's hard to
interspecies
tell
like
because I know
dynamic,
that
it is hard. Yeah.
I think at a certain point it doesn't matter the age as long as you're an adult,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about Vulcans who can live hundreds of years, like what's his name,
Hmm.
Spock and Burnham's father. um
Oh gosh.
Sarek.
Sarek?
He had like three wives. They're all
Yeah.
like at a certain point, like
Yeah.
his third wife was was born well after he was probably 100 years old, but like she was an adult, and I don't think it was inappropriate for him to to
Hmm.
marry her because she was like well into her adulthood, even though he was like 150. So like when you're
Yeah.
talking about like things like that, like long lived species, I guess it doesn't really matter. They're both adults that can make whatever decisions, whatever. So I don't know how old he was, but like when he left his planet, but he was obviously not a not an officer when he left his planet when Giorgio got him from the planet. And by the time we see him at the beginning of
Right.
the season, the first episode of the show, he is a commander. So he's obviously in Starfleet for like years, right? If he was like went to Starfleet Academy,
Yeah.
one of the things he said is he learned like 50 languages, something like that. So I think he's if he was a young
Hmm.
adult, and I'm not even sure he was a young adult. Maybe he was like sorry, I don't even think he was an adolescent. He might have been like a young adult, maybe he's 20s or to if we're talking about like human years or whatever. Um, yeah, he's I think he's playing someone who's to us would be in their 40s or maybe 50s or something. I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Elder
So
statesman.
we I mean
Yeah.
chronologically he's not older than his ward that he was concerned about. But like intellectually and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
in
yeah.
maturity wise, he is older. So like yeah. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. I want to see how that develops and how they play that. We were talking about this a little bit last week. I think that he can't be on the ship again next season. It would make no sense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the way that I think that they're probably going to handle this is by having another spinoff with him being at Starfleet Academy with Tilly probably makes more sense, and I guess we'll see how the relationship develops more in whatever show they haven't announced yet. I feel like if they're going to do that though, they should announce it sometime soon because they made all these Paramount made all these announcements earlier in the week and they didn't announce that like we're going to get a new Star Trek movie soon, and they
Hmm.
announced all a bunch of series pickups. They haven't announced the next season of Discovery yet, but they did announce like season 2 of Strange New Worlds. They did announce that Picard is going to end with season 3, and we're going to get Lower Decks later in the year. But yeah, they should probably. It seems obvious what they're doing, but I guess they're not.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. They're not in a place yet where they want to announce the show, even though they've already started to make moves to establish the code. They did this again with they did
Hmm.
this with the Section 38 thing too. They obviously made moves to move Giorgio out to make a show about her, but I
Yeah.
guess they haven't developed it well enough to announce it yet. So
I did wonder if that's where Command Non will show up as well with the Section 38
um
shows, and she's
I don't know. The thing is that she went back in time, right? And specifically because she couldn't be in this time period, so they would have to send Non back in time as well, right? So maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I think I think she works on the Discovery. Having her come back to Discovery probably makes the most sense to me. I don't think Saru can continue to be on Discovery because he's a captain. So it doesn't make his
Mm-hmm.
at a certain point it seems like Burnham is being babysat but by Saru, even though they both have the rank of captain. So yeah, we still don't know,
Yeah.
regardless of whether what happens to Saru. I mean, I think it's obvious that he'll move off. They have to make a decision about who the second officer is going to be. And I'm not sure if they're
Mm-hmm.
sort of like interviewing or trying out the other bridge crew people. That's why they're giving them a little bit more to do to make a decision by the end of the season, who the second in command is going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At this point, of course,
That's
OO is like out in front by a mile because they gave her basically a whole episode to show what she could do. So yeah, and I mean, Tilly wouldn't have been. I mean, she was second officer to Saru for a little bit, but she wasn't increased in rank. But everyone on the bridge, I think, are either commander or lieutenant commander rank, so they could be elevated to number one. So who would you be your choice for number one?
mm, I don't know.
I
Maybe
will
we're
say that when either Saru or Burnham leave the the bridge, either Reese is Reese is given the bridge, or Nilsson is given the bridge. Yeah,
Nielsen.
so I
Yeah.
think they are technically next in rank for that position. So I think or the highest rank.
And we've seen more of him than we have of her
They seem
today.
what? Would you say?
We've seen more of Reese
Yeah.
than Nielsen.
Um,
So
so yeah, I think they definitely need to do more with all of them for us to make a better decision. Because like I said, I if they don't want if they're not going to make a decision to basically just jump over those two, they need to flesh those characters out a little bit more to make the decision of who she's going to place as her number two make more sense. Unless they're going to just bring Non back and make her the number two, which is an option. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, true.
yeah,
I guess we'll have to wait and
yeah.
see. Hopefully
All
not too
right.
much longer.
Any final thoughts? Looking forward to next week. But all right. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely am. I think there's going to be a lot of tension there, and I really just want to see what species 10C
turns out to be,
um,
yeah,
is all about. Yeah, and their response to being asked to not mine our galaxy for
yeah,
Boronite.
or do it,
Yeah, so
or at
they
least
can be
do it
like,
in
"Oh,
a
our bad."
less destructive way that that accounts for the fact that that
Yeah,
other living
yeah,
beings exist. So
yeah.
yeah,
Like, are they open to some sort of negotiation and like,
yeah,
yeah, because right now they are mining in an
space, right?
uninhabited part of space. So I feel like there's room for
Yeah, I mean, so
maybe
like
a
it's
negotiation
possible,
there.
like you said, it's possible that they're just blundering, not necessarily blundering into things they don't mean to kill people. Maybe similar
Hmm.
to things not occurring to Tarka. It just didn't occur to them, and it's not like they have as knowledgeable as they are or as advanced as they are. They can't have complete knowledge of everything that's in the galaxy. I mean, Burnham herself in the last episode
Yeah.
had to get star charts from another species who they don't even have diplomatic relations with to get that part of the galaxy's information about that part of the galaxy. So it's not like they have, unless they had explorers, they have explorers out in the galaxy talking to people, which it doesn't seem like they do because no one knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible it was just a mistake.
But I mean, if you get close to the rift that they've made, your ship gets destroyed, right? So it's possible that there's been contact and nobody ever realized because it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
Destroyed, right? So,
It's interesting though.
Yeah. So
You got to imagine to get to this level of technological advancement, it would have taken tens of thousands of years. I know the galaxy is big, but it's fascinating that this is the first time that this has come up as an issue. Is this new technology that they rolled out? I mean, how are they mining for Bornite in the past? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe they've exhausted it all in their galaxy, or if they destroyed planets before, pre-warp societies or societies that on planets that didn't have contact with anyone else, nobody would know you were missing. But it just makes me think of I feel like it's a metaphor for how we do things on our planet, and we do stuff, we make these technological advances. And then you only realize
the unintended consequences,
the impact it's had on unintended consequences. Yeah, and you don't know what you don't.
This is
know.
true.
So,
yeah. It should be interesting with the conversation. hopefully they write it well. It should be interesting the conversation they have with them. So yeah. Well.
Yeah.
That is what we think, but we are interested to hear what you guys think. So please comment down below to join the conversation, and we will see you next time. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.